Hi guys, my name's Doug. Welcome to my messy garage. In today's video, we're going to take a look at what has been hiding underneath the car cover in my garage for far too long. We've got a 1979 Corvette L48 originally car. I've owned this since about 1998. I purchased it as a bit of a project. It hadn't run in 10 years at that point. I got it on the road, probably used it for a good 10 years, and then other projects kind of took priority. With doing YouTube content, I've decided probably not a bad idea to get this thing fired back up again. Get it usable is the end goal, and decide whether I'm going to use it enough to keep it or put it up on the market and sell it. It has not run in, I'm going to say, about 12 years. Not consistently anyways, maybe 10 since I've had it even fired up at all, and it's going to need a little bit of TLC. So follow along, I'll kind of go over what we've got here, and if we get enough time, I'll see if we can get this thing to fire up. So as I said, this car hasn't run probably in about 10 years. One thing I do want to try is, let's take the gas cap off and see what the gas tank smells like. And if you look carefully down in there, you can see that somebody has hacked this thing apart. Back in the mid-80s, I think it was, you used to be able to get regular car gas, as in leaded regular car gas, cheaper than you can get unleaded. And the nozzle was larger on the regular gas than it was on the unleaded. And so it's not unusual to see someone hacking into a fuel filler like this so that you could put the regular car gas. That does not smell bad. I'm surprised. Still smells like gas. I do remember, I always ran premium in this thing, so when this car was parked, it had premium put in it, and I believe I pretty much filled the tank shortly before it was parked. So that tells me we probably will get away with using what gas is in it to run it. That's going to make things a lot easier. I was expecting to have to set up a separate fuel system. And one of the issues you can see here, the old door handle doesn't pop up, and the interior has seen better days. Carpets are a little ripped and faded. Definitely needs a good vacuuming, and the steering wheel cover is quite badly cracked. But for what we're looking at doing, that is not the important part. Our main priority is going to be getting this thing running. Let me pull the hood and we'll lift it up. For those not familiar with the C3 Corvette, the hood opens forward, and the car obviously spent a little more time outside than I remember. I think it was outside while I was working on the airplane for one fall season. The engine is not the original engine in this car. It is, according to the casting number, I think it's a 72 to 76 high output 350 with 4-bolt mains. It was I believe it's called Western Automotive Rebuilders engine. When I bought it, it still had the original Corvette heads on it. It was a short block that was put in, and I have since taken those heads off and replaced them with fuel-injected Vortec truck heads out of a 1998 350. Supposed to make all sorts of power by doing that. However, this wasn't a good candidate. I believed this engine had dish top pistons and that it was a smog era rebuild. But when I pulled the heads off, lo and behold, it actually had, we'll call them 10cc domes. A fairly high compression engine already, and putting the small combustion chamber Vortec heads on probably wasn't the wisest move. One big advantage to doing that, however, is you go from the perimeter bolted factory valve covers to the center bolted fuel injected, and it does a much better job of keeping your valve cover seals. Under the air cleaner there is a Quadrajet carburetor, and unfortunately it is going to need some TLC. I threw a rebuild kit in it back around the time I was putzing with this thing, trying to get it to run, and I found out that some of the parts inside were actually broken. I do have a couple of old Quadrajets kicking around in a cupboard, so hopefully we can build one decent carburetor out of all of them. And if we need to, we can always send it away. There are places that do like factory refurbishment on Quadrajet carburetors. We've got a little bit of self-clearancing's been going on here. I don't know exactly what happened there. Lots of room, but definitely the radiator cover has rubbed on the fan blades. I do know back when I was driving this car regularly that I had to do a fairly substantial rust repair on the bottom of the radiator housing, or the radiator cradle. So that possibly was damage that was done at that time. We'll see how things go. Maybe we'll replace it, maybe we won't. First step is to get this thing so that it'll fire up, run, and hopefully be able to pull in and out of the garage. This brake master cylinder has been replaced. It's dusty and dirty, but I painted it before I put it in, so it's not too bad. However, the brake system on C3 Corvettes do not deal well at all with sitting, and all 4 calipers are an absolute mess. They're leaking fluid out all over the place, and that'll need to be cleaned up. I've discovered that when I tried pushing this out of the way here a couple of years ago. And disc rotors are rusty. All 4-wheel disc brakes on this car, they'll need to be taken off and cleaned up. I think I'm going to order new calipers and put them on. The big issue that we have when the modifications were made to this engine, I never did get it all completely dialed in. Other projects got in the way and I didn't ever get a chance to finish it up. I'm pretty sure my distributor is 1 tooth out, even when it is fully retarded. As far as I can crank it back to get retard the timing, the engine is still way too advanced. Either the timing marks are bad on this engine, or the harmonic balancer has spun its outer hub, or whatever the issue is. I can't use the factory timing marks to time this engine. I've tried ever since I've owned the car, and it was always a matter of just setting the timing by ear and running it that way. But with this cranked around to the full retarded position so that it's actually hitting, I forget what it hits, but so that it actually bumps into a structural component, the timing is still too advanced on this, and we actually get kickbacks when the engine is warm. Another issue that we have is the transmission leaks like a sieve. Right now there is no tranny fluid in it because it's all leaked out, or there's probably stuff in the pan, but it's not up above the level of the pan at all. I think it's the kickdown cable or the dipstick O-ring is bad. Hopefully that's something that we can get at and get fixed. Air conditioning, I doubt works anymore. It was one of those things I was using, the DuraCool, which I think is a propane-based, environmentally quote-unquote friendly Freon replacement, and it seems to me every year I had to redo that. And of course the old windshield wipers have definitely seen better days. I think I'm going to grab a vacuum up these leaves, get them out of here, kind of dust things off a little bit under the hood. I will bring you guys back once I do that and stick the battery back inside. Got a little bit of a cleanup done here. Took a bit of Windex to the glass, cleaned it up. Definitely going to need some new windshield wipers. Vacuumed out the worst of the leaves and seeds and stuff that are in by the wipers and around the engine. Basically, got it somewhat dialed in here cleanliness wise. I've put a brand shiny new hot battery, fully charged, in the battery box behind the seat. The battery is located behind the driver's seat on a 79 Corvette. Well, I think on all of the C3 Corvettes. Not a lot of room under the hood for a battery here. So we have some 2-stroke pre-mixed. It's a True Fuel in a little squirt bottle. And what I'm going to do here is take the air cleaner off. I'm going to fill the float bowl up with the premix, give it a little squirt down the throat, see if we can get this old beast to fire off. Now, in theory, we should be able to pull some fuel from the fuel tank, and it doesn't smell too bad, so I'm hoping that it'll be okay. Start off, where's that vent hole? A little vent hole in the top of the bottle. Start off by squirting some. We squirt some down around the choke and also down into the vent here for the float bowl, and basically fill the float bowl up. I think I'm going to take a rag and wipe the worst of the dust and stuff out of that air cleaner so it doesn't get sucked into the engine. This engine's in pretty good shape, other than a few minor tuning issues that it needs, so I don't really want to cause any damage by sucking dust into it. Let me grab a rag and I'll bring you guys back once I get it wiped up. There we get the dust and pine needles or whatever they are sucked out of there, so we don't have to worry about anything getting pulled into the engine. Accelerator pump sounds like it's working. That should give us some fuel down the throat. I'm going to put you guys on a monopod and I'll get in the car and see if we can get this thing to fire up. And we'll turn it over and see what it does. I do have a fire extinguisher sitting just outside the door in case something odd happens, but hopefully everything will be just fine. Got oil pressure. I'm holding the RPM up. Doesn't sound like we're running on all cylinders, and I do know that one of my mufflers is rusted out, so it's a little on the long side. But it's running. That's the first start in at least 8 years. We're having an exhaust leak over on this side. I believe the heat riser valve has a leak. You see here we're getting a whole bunch of kind of smoke coming out of there. That tells me we're getting a lot of blow-by. Timing is way out of whack. And we're putting out tons of smoke. See now. And it quit. That wasn't me that turned it off. Thermostat didn't open because the top rad hose is still cold, but definitely got some heat happening. So it runs, and considering the timing is as screwed up as it is, I know that already, that's not actually that bad. I think first step, what I'm going to try doing is putting a decent timing light on it. Now that the fog of partially burnt fuel has cleared out of the atmosphere here in the garage, I was going to fire it up, put the timing light on it, and see exactly what's going on. Unfortunately, I hit a little bit of a snag. It appears that the starter is getting heat soaked, and what I at one time thought was a timing issue, I think it's just my starter's worn out. So I have ordered a new one. Hopefully it will be here sometime the next day or two, and we'll get that installed for the next video. For now, I think we're going to end this one here. Thanks a lot for watching, greatly appreciated. If you're new to the channel, can you throw me a subscribe? That really would help me out. I'm trying to get up to the 1,000 subscriber mark so we can monetize things, and ring that bell icon so you can see new content from Doug's Messy Garage. Thanks for checking this out, and we're on to the next mess.